Now, Congressman Jody Hice, he's from the 7th District of Virginia, of Georgia, Republican, and that is the Athens area. And he won election in 2014 when Dr. Brown ran for U.S. Senate, came in third, I think, or fourth in that primary. Jody Hice winning that seat, former talk show host in Georgia. So we got to keep the little fraternity together here, Congressman Hice. Good to have you, sir.
Great to be on with you guys. And listen, Georgia's 10th district now. They changed it all around, but it used to be the 7th. Now it's the 10th. But listen, you guys were cracking me up earlier. I just got to say the difference, you guys are a whole lot smarter than me, so don't run for Congress. I'm sure you won't. But great to be on with you.
We got to come and do our show in your office because we do it once in a while in Congressman's office. I do it in Bobby Scott's office, who's my congressman in the 3rd District.
I would love to have you. Let's work it out. We're going to do that. That'd be wonderful.
Because, I mean, look, and get all three of us there because when we get Dan back in town, but I think it's a lot of fun. Congressman, look, I got to get you, there's so much to talk about today. First of all, the National Emergency Act, 13 Republicans voting it down. It's all for naught, right? The president's going to veto it. But look, why, if they're going to go after this bill, why not go after the whole thing, the whole enchilada, Congressman, in the 1976 National Emergency Act? Why put on a political stunt? Why not have a vote to get rid of the act that was passed before any of you were there in 1976?
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. You're hitting the nail on the head. That is the issue. There are really two issues here. One is the national emergency, and the other is the 1976 Act that gives the president the authorization to declare a national emergency. And there are two different things here that Nancy Pelosi and company are trying to tie together. There is no question, point number one, the president has the authority to declare a national emergency because in 1976, Congress gave the executive branch the authority to do that. And, of course, there have been in the ballpark of 60 declarations since 1976, 8 or 9 of them under Obama alone. In fact, one of them that Obama did was regarding the southern border. And, of course, no problem with that. The issue here is the president, who's in the White House. The Democrats hate the president, and they are determined to do anything and everything they can to harm him, to impugn him. And so now they're saying this 1976 Act is unconstitutional. But it's in statute. The president has the authority to do it. If we want to change that act, then let's go back legislatively and rein in the authority that Congress gave to the executive branch in 76. And frankly, I would be in favor of that as well. But as of right now, he has the authority, and I support him in doing so.
Great. I was going to ask you that question, Congressman. This is the Ox from Minnesota, and it's an honor and a pleasure to talk to you, sir. I'm glad to make your acquaintance.
Likewise.
I don't know if we've met before, but as a fellow talk show host, I imagine we've got some stories to share.
I'm sure.
But I'm glad you brought that up because that was my question. Is there an appetite to actually change this law? I don't know that we've seen a lot of presidents, using it quite this obviously or quite this publicly. Is this something, after this is all over, is this a bona fide debate on this to maybe get rid of this law?
Well, I think perhaps there is, Dan. We were talking about this just this past week in the Freedom Caucus, and the Democrats, as we all know, they're raising Cain over this thing right now, and I know there are a lot of Republicans, probably most, if not all, of the 13 who voted against the president on this. That was the issue. They disagree with the law and believe the law itself is unconstitutional. But the fact is it is the law, and it does grant the executive branch authorization to declare national emergency. So I think that perhaps there is an appetite to go back and try to rein this thing in, and I think now even the Democrats may be supportive in joining with us in dealing with it. So that would be kind of comical.
Yeah. Has there been a Supreme Court challenge on this law at all?
I'm not sure.
No,
must not have been.
No, never a Supreme Court challenge on it because nobody sued anybody over it. They just all went forward. But now what Pelosi and the Democrats and 13 Republicans want to do is cherry pick and choose what national emergency powers they want to give what president at what time, because as the Congressman Jody Hice said, when Obama did it and Pelosi was there were crickets, right? She didn't say a word. He did it. I mean, he took national emergency to start a war in Libya, and not a word from Pelosi. He started a war under the 76 Act and started, bombing raids on Gaddafi, and nobody said a word, right? Pelosi was there, absolute crickets. John Fredericks Radio Network, Trucking the Truth Across America. We're with Congressman Georgia's 10th district now, Republican Jody Hice. That's the Athens area. And the congressman, a former nationally syndicated radio talk show host and Dan Ox's hero in talk radio, and he's here from Minnesota, where it's minus 31 degrees, and he told me to stop whining about Washington, D.C. crappy weather. Congressman Hice.
It's going to be 70 in Athens today, by the way. So,
I got to play this.
Congressman.
I'm complaining about the Washington weather.
Yeah. I don't like
Minnesota.
I know, right? And he's showed me his thermostat outside, minus 31 degrees, and told me to stop whining when I do the weather. Congressman, hang with us a minute. I want to get Colleen. Let's get the cut for. What is your take on the president's meeting here with Kim Jong-un and all of the Democratic criticism? I mean, why not give peace a chance? I thought that was their mantra.
Yeah, and again, it's the same answer as a while ago. It's because the Democrats absolutely cannot stand this president, and they're going to criticize everything he does, even when it's good for America, be it on the southern border or be it globally. They don't want him getting any credit at all. But I think this is one of the most spectacular things. Here we've got a regime of 80 years. This is the first administration ever to have a breakthrough with North Korea. In just 2 years of this administration, we are now having our second summit with North Korea, and it's just absolutely stunning to me, the progress that was made in the first summit, and I'm extremely hopeful that we're going to go even further in this one. I think the president is doing an outstanding job.
Fascinating that it was just yesterday, seemingly. I remember live broadcasts from Guam, when Guam was essentially going to be sunk.
That's right.
And that was going to spark a potential.
They were doing air raids.
Entire hemispherical nuclear holocaust, basically.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden Trump is there and nobody's paying attention.
The hypocrisy, Congressman Hice, of the Democrats is what is amazing to me. I mean, those of you like Dan, Congressman, and yourself and me that follow this stuff. I mean, look, remember, it's the Democrats who always say we need to negotiate, we need peace, give peace a chance, diplomacy, don't do gunboat diplomacy. And now the president, that's exactly what he's doing. He's having a conversation, trying to get something done, and now they blast him before he even does it. Okay, I've now got a cut 4 here from Colleen.
Unless something fairly dramatic changes in the North Koreans' strategy, there'll be very little from this summit that is measurable in terms of progress. The testimony from our military leadership has been that the North Koreans are intent on pursuing nuclear arms, and something very dramatic is going to have to change for that strategy to change, and there's no immediate prospect of that kind of dramatic development.
Senator Blumenthal blasting the meeting before it even happens. I mean, what is up with these people?
Yeah, I mean, they just cannot accept the fact that the president is doing an outstanding job. I mean, listen, what have we had in previous administrations as it relates to North Korea? Absolutely nothing. Nothing. And here we have a president who has already come through one successful summit where the rocket testing has stopped since then, and now we're making more progress. But now I think it's brilliant even to be meeting in Vietnam, giving just a carrot in the nose of Kim Jong-un to let him know what could be some of the possibilities for North Korea economically if they would join the rest of the world and join an environment of peace. I think this summit has great potential for enormous progress, and again, I can think of no one that I'd rather have at the negotiating table than the president. His skills at this level are spectacular, and I just could not be more pleased.
Only guy on the face of the planet that could pull this off. And he happens to be our president right now. What a godsend in this situation for the whole planet, quite frankly.
Absolutely.
In order to get anything done, it starts with a conversation, and the president attempting to have a conversation. And the fake news, legacy lying media, one of the poolers, Congressman Hice, asks a question. I just saw it. And to the president there just before the dinner with Chairman Kim Jong-un, and he says, have you abandoned your call for denuclearization on the peninsula? Here, the dinner hasn't even commenced, and the fake newsers are already setting it up. Like, what kind of a question is that? That's like saying, did you beat your child today? I mean, it's an asinine question these people ask, and all of us in media we look at this stuff, Congressman Hice, and we're like, it's the fake newsers are unbelievable. That's about the stupidest question. You're in Vietnam, you went out there, you're a pooler, and I'm a White House correspondent, and you ask probably the dumbest question you could think of. And this is what passes for journalism today, Congressman.
Yeah, but the president now is having dinner. And the reality is these reporters, they're going to be eating their words. We have seen it in the past. The president goes to a summit like this, as he did the first time, and the same naysayers were out there talking about where this is going to end up in war. And, everything that they were saying, just the opposite happened. And so, listen, I just have confidence in the president and his skills and his abilities. Like you said, there is no one on the planet I'd rather have over there right now standing for us and negotiating. And I think we're going to see great results from this. And the fake news media at some point are going to have to eat their words and recognize we have peace in a region that we did not think it was possible just 2 short years ago.
John Fredericks Radio Network, live D.C., trucking the truth across America. We're with. Only got a couple more minutes. We're with Republican Congressman Georgia, former radio talk show host, Congressman Jody Hice. He represents the 10th District of Georgia. That is the Central Athens area. Congressman, I got to get to Georgia politics. I'm a advisory board member, Trump 2020 re-election campaign. I was the chairman of the Trump campaign in Virginia 2016. Congressman, the Trump campaign looking at Georgia as this absolute state they must win. Obviously, the very close race between Stacey Abrams and now Governor Kemp just a few months ago, putting Georgia in play. How do you win Georgia in 2020 for President Trump?
I think the president is doing exactly what he needs to do. I think he's going to win Georgia. Unfortunately, the race with Stacey Abrams, as you mentioned, was a lot closer than it should have been. But listen, the president is extremely loved and appreciated in Georgia. I think he's going to carry it. There's going to be all of us out there fighting and running like crazy to make sure that happens. But the main thing, I think the reason we struggled so much in the midterm was not because of the president, but because of Congress not doing what they said they were going to do. And I believe the people just did not turn out in that regard. And I really don't think the midterm election was a statement on the president nearly as much as it was on Congress as a whole. I believe when the president is on the ticket, it'll be a totally different picture in Georgia, and I believe he's going to win it.
All right, let's get to Senator Perdue. Is Stacey Abrams going to run for U.S. Senate, Congressman Hice, on the Democratic side? What do you think?
Well, we're hearing the same rumors that she likely will. She certainly has ambitions for some other office, whatever that may be. And I think David Perdue is doing a great job, but he certainly needs to be prepared for whatever Stacey Abrams may have up her sleeve. So now is the time to make sure you don't get blindsided. But I think Stacey certainly has some other political ambitions, and the Senate is one of those offices that is certainly being talked about right now.
Can you win the old Tom Price seat back that Karen Handel won in the special, and then I'm not a fan of her, so I just got to be honest. Can you win that seat back?
Well, I think we ought to be able to. At this point, there are a lot of folks are getting in on that race. We're going to see what comes out of the primary, but hopefully we'll have a good, strong conservative candidate that will be able to get across the finish line. But that is a district that I believe we ought to be able to take back. There's no reason in my mind that we don't, and we've just got to, we got to have the right candidate, and we got to run with it.
All right, I got to read you two text here from listeners, and then I got to take off. Paul in Mechanicsville says, Dems who continue to publicly say there isn't a crisis at the border have no clue how stupid they sound to average Americans. Paul in Mechanicsville. And I've got one here from former Speaker Mark Burkholder in Atlanta, who says, Jody Hice, one of my favorite congressmen in Georgia, doing a great job. So you got fans out there all over the place, Congressman, even former Speaker of the House, Mark Burkholder. What do you think of that?
That means a great deal, as you can imagine, always here, because we certainly get thrown at a lot, and it's good to have some good positive feedback and encouragement along the way. But, yeah, listen, there's no question what's happening at the southern border is an emergency. We've had hundreds of thousands of criminals arrested in the last couple of years, 90% of drugs coming across the southern border. We all know all the stats. It is an emergency. I fully 100% support the president in this emergency declaration. We have got to get our southern border under control, and I agree with the comments that you just read.
All right, Congressman Jody Hice, Georgia, Republican 10th District. Congressman, we got to have you back as a regular, man. As radio guys, we got to stick together. Thank you for being with us. Hey, love to
do it. Y'all are welcome. Let's work it out to come to the office. But thanks for all you do. Keep the torch ablaze.
All right, Congressman Jody Hice.